it is crystal clear now to everybody, to anybody or who cares to listen, that the court has cleared former President Goodluck Jonathan to run for presidency in 2027, and the platform on which he's going to run is the one of PDP, which is being controlled by Alhaji Turaki, Taminu Turaki. That faction that is being headed by Seyi Makinde, being led by Seyi Makinde. Also, the Sonwike's faction has also produced his own presidential candidate. The issue now is that the candidature of Goodluck Jonathan, let's truly examine the positive developments that may come out of it, or the negative developments that may come out of it. President Goodluck Jonathan, what is the chance of winning the 2027 presidential election? Is the chance of winning, is it bright? Let's have it. No. Everything it takes to win the 2027 presidential election has any brighter chances of winning. Let's examine his tenure of office when he was last 4 years as president of Nigeria. This is a man that had things going on. The tenure of office had tenure of living of Nigeria very high, while their cost of living was low. The standard of living of Nigeria was high, their cost of living was low. This is characterized by lower cost of materials, living items, food, transportation, petroleum products, just name it. Cost of living generally was very, very low, and the standard of living of Nigeria was very high. Was high compared to other governments. Even in terms of infrastructural developments, Jonathan was ranked among the best in terms of provision of social infrastructure. Universities were constructed, roads were also constructed, and other items of living that has to do with living standard of people were also put in place. But the issue now is that what will be the chance of Jonathan in 2027? Will Nigeria remember his tenure as a tenure that they had much to enjoy. They had fewer cost of living. They have fewer cost to spend on living items, and the cost of what they buy in the public, in the market, is very, very low compared to what we are having now. When Nigeria remember this, we also remember that his government was very good at that time, that they may need to give him another chance now. When Nigeria remember this, when Nigeria do this, when Nigeria cut across the whole ethnic tribes in Nigeria, we remember this period of Jonathan as being a president whose tenure of office and whose standard of living of Nigeria and their cost of living was very low. When Nigeria remember and do this by voting for Jonathan, does it stand the chance of winning the 2027 presidential election? What would the northern who betrayed him in the first time, what would they say this time? Would they reconsider and give him vote over their own son, Atiku, Abubakar Atiku, was also back presidential ticket of ADC? Would they agree to leave their own son, a Fulani man from the north, Abubakar Atiku, and give their vote to former President Goodluck Jonathan? Would they remember the number of universities I brought Advantage to reduce to reduction? I brought schooling for Advantage and spend most 80% of the federal government revenue on agriculture in the north. Would they remember all these things and still cast their vote for Jonathan over their own son, Abubakar Atiku? This is the point we are considering. Okay, in the south, in the southeast, would they remember what he has done for them? Would they remember how glorious his government was for the people of the southeast, south? That many of the appointments were in their favor. The chief of army staff, which they never had before, as some other juicy appointments that was given to them. And in the southwest, would the southwest not remember how his government sidelined people from the southwest? With the southwesterners, would they forgive Jonathan? embracing him. Don't forget that during the region, during the reigning of President Goodluck Jonathan, Southwest was heavily compromised. Was heavily compromised in terms of appointment and co. Southwest was not in the list of those people was no that was favored. To the extent that when that got to the point of campaigning, just she that was Southwest was now pleading with the Southwesterners of Nigeria. With the Southwesterners, will they forgive Jonathan? Will they remember his sins as the government will never favor them during in terms of division of office during the last 4 years of presidency across the whole country, with different countries, different parts of the country, parts of the northwest, north central, southwest, and other parts of the country, will they overlook whatever sins Jonathan must have committed against their region and give Jonathan another term of office? Then, considering what the South had been clamoring for restructuring of Nigeria, which they be clamoring, which they be telling Jonathan right from the days of Ponako, Lepa, Enahoro, that Jonathan should restructure the country, and Jonathan failed to do that for his own personal political reasons, thinking that he will win another term of 4 years. Now he couldn't win it, and just 1 year to the end of his tenure, 2014, he now put on to the so-called confab, which never saw the light of day. With the South, will they forgive Jonathan for this? That when they are expecting to have restructured the country, it wasted so much time. He didn't do it. Will they consider all these sins and say overlook his sins and say wait for him in the South? Okay, will they not will they also not try to consider Jonathan as being the one who wants to restructure the country in terms of confab that he try to bring about to restructure the lopsided arrangement of Nigeria, which is clearly in favor of the North. In terms of number of seats in the Federal House of Rep, in terms of number of local governments, in terms of sharing formula and everything, which heavily tilted towards the North. Will not remember that this was the man who was trying to correct these imbalances, which is against them? Will they overlook it and still have their confidence in Jonathan that we should give him another term? There are other things we need to consider that we may know that may need to put the consideration as regards whether Jonathan will be given another consideration, whether the whole country will remember good days of Jonathan and give him good votes, or they remember the bad of Jonathan and the number of votes. These are things we are putting into consideration that let's examine and see which one will work in favor of Jonathan. Will he stand the test of time as a president who has lost power in office and come back and get the power like President Trump of the United States of America, when he lost second term bid? But after the second term bid he lost, he came back again and win, and is now still occupying the office of President of the United States of America. Will Jonathan also set that kind of record that who fails on win his term bid term only come back and win after 7 years? Will Jonathan join the race join the list of those who have achieved that, like President Trump have said? What are those things that will speak for Jonathan to come back and win the interest of Nigerians? That Nigeria will have a change of heart and give him good votes to become the president of Nigeria again. Going for the last time in Sadana, person like him in Sadana we spent, because we see South Sudan has another 4 years, a gentleman agreement. This is what we have considered. What is your take on this? Drop your comments, like this program, share it, subscribe for it. Let's have your own opinion on what are those things you think Jonathan will benefit, that will make it to be related by Nigerians. What are those things he has done for Nigerians that will make Nigerians to reconsider him and give him their votes again and come back as president 2027? These are what he wants you to contribute. Want to hear from you. Let us have your own take. Let's have your own mind. Jonathan has won the ticket. He has won the ticket of a faction of PDP under Shemakinde, and the court has cleared him. If you stand for election, if Nigeria give him the votes, what are those things Nigeria must consider to give him the votes to come back as president of 2027? This is what we have considered. Want to have your own take. Thank you very much.